To make a long intro short, new year, new games, new anticipated experiences, and new disappointments along the way. We've already hit you guys off with our list of confirmed games coming this year. This time, we're taking a look at games that's been confirmed, but don't have an official release date. Well, except for one game. So here we go. This is part 2 of our most anticipated games of 2026 on this episode of Late As Always. Hello, loyal subjects. It's your boy, the Retro King Wahyu, welcoming you to part 2 of our most anticipated games of 2026. And if you're ready, let's start off with a bang, with Spine, a cinematic gun shooting beat 'em up the likes of the John Wick series. As you can see, this game allows you to switch seamlessly between using your weapons and hand-to-hand combat. With tight game control, you can easily execute beautiful takedown moves like a work of art. Former Witcher 3 developers form a new studio and hit us up with their new IP, The Blood of the Dawnwalker, an open-world RPG that takes place in 14th century Europe. Play as Cohen, who's a vampire hybrid that can move during both day and night through this story-driven title. Blood of the Dawnwalker's combat system pushes you to be thoughtful when confronting enemies. Rebel Wolves' new system, if executed successfully, will leave your enemies open with a lethal blow. If you ever play Vampire, then this game is up your alley. Since we're talking about story-driven games, we have to bring up Directive 8020, a Dark Pictures game. From the minds that brought us Until Dawn, Directive 8020 is a survival horror game where you play as Brianna Young, member of the crash colony ship Cassiopeia. Young is tasked with saving humanity after crashing on an alien world with an organism that mimics its prey. Here, making the right choices determines if your crew lives to see another day. Directive 8020's atmosphere and creatures induce a notion of fear, making you question what may lurk down that dark corridor. Something Wicked This Way comes on May 12th. This next entry took us by surprise. From the studio that brought us the Alan Wake series and 2019's Control, Remedy brings us Control Resonant, an action RPG game that lets you play as Dylan Faden, who must use all of his strength to save a reality warped Manhattan. The visuals in this game are absolutely stunning. Exploring an alternate version of Manhattan with traversal similar to its predecessor will be a real treat. And oh, did I mention you can use a huge hammer? The Aberrant allows you to confront enemies using tight combat mechanics, fighting your enemies not only by ground, but also by air. The Aberrant will shift into different forms to take down any challenge. Let's hope and pray that Control Resonant releases as scheduled sometime this year. This next game on the list is set to release on PC only, but I'm hoping for a physical console release, and that is Acts of Blood. This is a beat-em-up game taking place in the tough streets of Indonesia as you seek revenge for the murder of your family. You can switch between using your weapons to hand-to-hand combat on the fly. Personally, I like the disarming mechanics in the game. It just gives you that satisfied feeling when you can use the enemy's own weapon against them. In the end, you are the perfect weapon. This is Sifu 2.0. If you haven't played Sifu, I highly recommend it. Capcom has been killing it with the Resident Evil franchise, especially with Requiem coming out in February. But there is no rest for the wicked as they are working on the next entry to this list, Onimusha, Way of the Sword. This new entry to the series is the first one in over 20 years. You play as Musashi, armed with the power of the Oni in feudal Japan, fighting hordes of demons using your blade and gauntlet with real technique and a parrying system allowing you to take advantage with lethal blows and breathtaking finishers, leaving you thirsty for more bloodshed. This next entry holds a dear spot in our hearts here at Broheim HQ, Toxic Crusaders, a 2D beat-em-up that lets you play as the Toxic Avenger and his friends in a 4-player co-op. The sprites are on point, and if you ever watched the cartoon series of the 90s, this game beautifully brings the series to life. Fight other mutant freaks with your mop and tutu to save your hometown of Tromaville. Quick recommendation: if you're into stuff like this and want to watch a really good Troma movie, check out one of my personal favorites, Class of Nukem High. Low budget and cheesy acting. Enough said. There is no doubt in my mind that the indie circuit is holding down the fort when it comes to gaming, and this next entry is no different. End of the Abyss, an isometric sci-fi horror Metroidvania game where you play as a young combat technician, Cell, who is trapped in a derelict underground facility where you must fight against monstrous creatures who lurk in the darkness. This game is very atmospheric and makes you feel dread as if the stage itself is an enemy who hides in plain sight. If End of the Abyss is a love letter to the Little Nightmares series, then this game does its justice. Dare I say hidden gem? Only time will tell. Since we're on the topic of horror, then Sinking City 2 has to be the next game on the list. A third-person survival horror game where you explore the flooded city of Arkham. No, not that Arkham. The flood has not only brought decay, but also eldritch creatures inspired by the likes of Resident Evil and even The Last of Us. Of course, it wouldn't be a traditional survival horror game without puzzle solving, and this game has its fair share of it. Over-the-shoulder combat mechanics allows the use of a 1920s inspired arsenal, which looks pretty good. Visuals are impressive, which makes Arkham City come to life. Again, not that Arkham City. This next game on the list might have you going to sleep with your lights on. Let's talk about Ill, the first-person survival horror title set somewhere in Europe. Explore an abandoned research facility and combat zombie-like creatures with a playstyle that reminds me of Resident Evil 7. Weapons and resource management is limited and key in order for you to survive the night. The visuals are top-notch. The audio and atmosphere just raises the fear bar as you hear noises coming from everywhere, expecting a creature to show up at any given moment. What really catches my attention is the dismemberment mechanics. Shooting off limbs to slow down or disarm enemies pushes for different ways to battle while conserving ammo and using melee. If you like FPS horror games, then give this one a try. If you're seeking more adventure and less horror, then the next game on the list could be exactly what you're looking for. Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. A reimagining of the original Tomb Raider released in 1996. Search for the Scion artifacts and explore exotic locations such as Egypt, Peru, Greece, and Atlantis, with modern graphics powered by Unreal Engine 5. This game looks amazing, and it wouldn't be a traditional Tomb Raider game without its puzzles. I'm really looking forward to this one and pray for a confirmed release date. A game that blends action, adventure, stealth, and survival horror elements. Let's take a look at Resonance, A Plague's Tale Legacy. Resonance is more of a prequel set 15 years before the first game and tasks you to play as Sophia, a pirate on a quest to find treasure and discover secrets on your way to Minotaur Island. So get ready to go on an adventure ride full of challenges, danger, and self-discovery. Switching gears, this next game surprised us here at Broheim HQ when unofficially revealed at last year's Video Game Awards, Gears of War, E-Day. This third-person shooter is definitely high on our most anticipated games of 2026. Taking place 14 years before the original Gears of War game, we finally get to see Marcus Phoenix's and Dom Santiago's first encounter with the Locust Horde. Being built from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5 allows developer the Coalition to bring the series back to its roots, which means more glorious chainsaw executions and a dark depiction of the most infamous day in Sarah's history. Adding to the list of games that took Brotherface Mason and I by surprise, this was revealed at last year's Summer Games Fest. He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, the Dragon Pearl of Destruction. This 2D beat-em-up Golden Axe-inspired game lets you play as He-Man or Teela as you fight your way through the hordes of enemies, save Eternia from the evil forces of Skeletor. Not for nothing, but seeing the sprite work on this game brings this classic Filmation series to life. I can already see Prince Adam unsheathing his power sword as he says those 4 words that's been etched in our brains from our childhoods. What blew my mind was seeing Orko and fucking Grandemir coming to the assist as they clear out areas of the stage. I remember playing He-Man on my Atari 2600, and yeah, it definitely needed to be made on modern consoles. With He-Man getting the limited run treatment, I'm expecting a killer collector's edition. And finally, the last game on the list. Get ready to sink your claws into this one, cause we're talking about none other than Marvel's Wolverine. This game is going full Berserker Rage and have a much darker tone compared to Marvel's Spider-Man. The gameplay is what you expect, bloody, bone-crushing mayhem. Insomniac isn't toning down the violence on this one at all. With the carnage and brutal executions you can pull off, there is no doubt that Insomniac will deliver us a true, definitive version of Wolverine. Let's not forget the cameos we'll be seeing along the way, such as Omega Red and Mystique, just to name a few. If you can't wait to get your hands on this one, then take a trip back and try out PlayStation 3's Wolverine's Origins, just to scratch that itch. But until then, the fall of 2026 can't come soon enough. That wraps up part 2 of our most anticipated games of 2026. Leave a comment down below as we're curious to know which games are you looking forward to playing this year. This is your boy, the Retro King Wahyu, telling you to keep in mind, let's keep physical media alive because it's only as good as your hard drive. And once that goes, you're shit out of luck. Broheim out.